Pfizer is now asking U.S. regulators to authorize its COVID booster shots for all Americans over 18. At the moment, only older Americans and those with weakened immune systems are eligible. Pfizer's request today comes as holiday gatherings draw near and as infections begin to tick higher in parts of the country. The prosecution rested today in Kenosha, Wisconsin, in the Kyle Rittenhouse murder trial. He's charged with killing 2 men and wounding a third during violence and protest last year. It happened after Jacob Blake, a black man, was shot by police and left paralyzed. Prosecutors presented 5 days of testimony before wrapping up. The UN Climate Summit has entered its final days with warnings that new pledges to cut carbon emissions are not enough. A UN analysis says that by 2030, global emissions will still be 4 times the levels needed to limit global warming. Separately, the New Climate Institute says that there is no solid plan to soak up more carbon.
Not a single country has short-term policies in place to put itself on track towards its own net zero target. Right now, the net zero targets are a good vision, imagination, but they have to be backed by action, by short-term action. Otherwise, they are simply not credible.
We'll return to the climate summit in Glasgow, Scotland, later in the program. The U.S. Supreme Court will decide whether a death row inmate may have a chaplain touch him and pray out loud during a lethal injection. The justices heard arguments today in a Texas case. Texas has halted executions pending a decision in this case. The Oklahoma Supreme Court today threw out an award of $465 million against Johnson & Johnson over opioid abuse. The panel said that a lower court wrongly applied a public nuisance law when it found the company used deceptive marketing. Republican Congressman Paul Gosar of Arizona is under fire for tweeting a cartoon version of him attacking Democrat Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez with a sword. He is a leading Trump supporter. The New York Congresswoman is a leading progressive. She was at the climate summit today where she said the incident goes to a larger point.
It is so common for women and women of color to be sounding alarms about very disturbing behaviors, patterns, etc., to almost be whistleblowers within institutions, and to not only be ignored, but to have very serious threats not really be addressed.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, Nancy Pelosi, called for an investigation, and the White House said there is no place in politics for Gosar's actions. Later in a statement, Gosar said he did not espouse violence and that it was, quote, a symbolic cartoon. A federal judge has denied former President Trump's request to block release of documents related to the January attack on the U.S. Capitol. That came today as congressional subpoenas went out to 10 more Trump administration officials. They include former senior advisor Stephen Miller and former White House press secretary Kayleigh McEnany. Also today, a separate federal investigation found 13 Trump aides campaigned on government time in violation of the Hatch Act. Former U.S. Senator from Georgia and Vietnam War veteran Max Cleland died today in Atlanta after suffering congestive heart failure. He lost 3 limbs in a hand grenade blast in Vietnam and championed veterans' rights. John Yang has our report.
Max Cleland's political career spanned 4 decades, stretching from his native Georgia to the U.S. Senate, and included time as President Jimmy Carter's head of the Veterans Administration. In the mid-1960s, he volunteered to fight in Vietnam. During the siege of Khe Sanh, just days before his tour of duty was to end, he picked up a fallen grenade and lost both legs and his right arm. He was awarded the Bronze and Silver Stars for meritorious service. On the MacNeil-Lehrer Report in 1978, then VA Administrator Cleland spoke of the difficulties facing those who had served in that unpopular war.
I think that part of the problem that we will have with Vietnam veterans is unfortunately the negative image that the war, in a sense, created for us. I am personally committed to making sure that those who have served this country and served it well, particularly the disabled veteran, gets the finest treatment in our hospital system possible.
He was elected to the Senate in 1996, but lost re-election a year after 9/11 in a nasty race in which his Republican opponent, who had never served in the military, questioned his patriotism. Bound to a wheelchair most of his adult life, Cleland was gregarious and upbeat. Known for wearing a Mickey Mouse watch as a reminder, he said,
Good morning, Senator.
Good day to go to work.
not to take life too seriously.
Max Cleland was 79 years old, a remarkable man. Federal wildlife officials today reversed a Trump-era rule that stripped habitat protections for the endangered northern spotted owl. They said the rule was based on faulty science. It would have allowed logging in millions of acres across California, Oregon, and Washington state. On Wall Street today, stocks retreated on news that wholesale inflation is still rising at record levels. The Dow Jones Industrial Average lost 112 points to close below 36,320. The Nasdaq fell 95 points. The S&P 500 slid 16. And as of today, thrill seekers in New York City can climb up a skyscraper on the outside. Visitors in bodysuits and safety harnesses ascend a metal staircase nearly 1,300 feet high. At the top, they can lean out over the city's skyline. The tickets cost $185, and some of us won't be doing that. Still to come on the NewsHour, the consequences of climate change fall hardest on developing nations. A new survey shows the divisions among Americans and within political parties. The husband of the late Cokie Roberts reflects on her life and legacy, plus much more.
This is the PBS NewsHour from WETA Studios in Washington and in the West from the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism at Arizona State University.